Again, welcome to our March 18th, 2025 Angels Camp City Council meeting. We will do roll call. Rose?
Mayor Shemente.
Present.
Vice Mayor Sharato.
Present.
Councilmember Moncada.
Present.
Councilmember Brolio.
Present.
Councilmember Behill.
Here.
Staff is present.
Thank you. Could you all please stand and join me in the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Report out of closed session. No action was taken during closed session. The direction was just given. Now we're going to do it. How are we going to? I was assuming like 2 or 3 years. So, Jeff, why don't you come on up? And then did you have like co-captains or captains?
Yeah, we got 4 of them. We travel big, we have 4 captains, there's a lot of.
Okay.
Speaking of one, Lex, you can stay right up here with me.
Mr. Mayor,
Perfect timing.
Mr. Mayor, can you steal a microphone so that the recording can
Oh, you want me
pick
to
up
steal
your...
a microphone?
Ready to go.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Or who else you got? You bringing in, who else is coming up?
Oh, no, I'm good.
I think you're bringing 4 captains
Oh,
up.
yeah, you want to bring?
Come on, captains. Lex, come here.
Oh my God.
Like I said, and you guys do have your stages, right?
Each one of them has been practicing.
It's a proclamation congratulating the Bret Harte High School girls basketball team on their CIF San Joaquin Section Division 5 championship. Whereas the 2025 CIF Section Division 5 season is definitely a tale of vision, perseverance, and victory against all odds for the Bret Harte High School girls basketball team. The Bullfrogs, as they have won the 2025 CIF Section 5 Division Championship on February 28, 2025, and whereas Bret Harte's 45-42 win over Woodland Christian marks its first section title in 44 years. Let's give them a round of applause. Whereas when the odds were stacked against it twice, once in the first half and again in the second, as it trailed Woodland Christian by 9 points in the biggest game of the year, Bret Harte outscored Woodland Christian 30-24 in the end of the second half. And whereas Bret Harte continued playing with pure heart and soul on the court, giving all to keep the confidence up and fighting even harder, with their efforts being rewarded as they entered the fourth quarter with a score of 32-30. And whereas Bret Harte reasserted its #1 team status as it closed the championship game by defeating Woodland Christian with a score of 45-42. And whereas Bret Harte has proven that with faith, perseverance, resilience, and teamwork, anything is possible. The team played with a drive and spirit that will stay in the community's collective heart and mind for many years to come. And whereas Head Coach Jeff Eltringham and his assistant coaches are commended for their guidance and mentorship. Now, therefore, I, Michael Chimeni, Mayor, and the City Council of Angels Camp heartily congratulate the Bret Harte girls varsity basketball team on their amazing accomplishment and wish the team all the best in their future endeavors. Go Bullfrogs. On this day, April 18th, March 2025.
Yeah, I see a lot of hand fighting. Long way to go.
Oh, you might have been one of the coaches. Congratulations. Thank you. So, do you want to say anything, Jeff? You can.
Just on behalf of Bret Harte and the high school and stuff, thank you guys. It's a huge honor to be down here with like the people we love. I look around this room, I know everyone knows these guys. To these ladies, they're just an amazing group. Honestly, I hope I don't tear up. I mean, not just them, it comes from the parents, it comes from coaching, it comes from the whole community. So being here in our home, very special. The way they are together is super, super special. And I try to let them know all the time that they're amazing moments. Everything they do on the floor, isn't even close to what's coming with how close they are. And I mean, like, I told him this before he went to the section game. I just hope they stay together where Maddie can graduate college and Annalise, Bailey, Lex are there. I hope when they marry, I told them in 45 years. 45 years, when they get married, some of them are all putting on dresses, and that's the important stuff. And during the hard times too, they'll always have someone in this group that close. So, super special group.
Thank you again, Coach.
I got one thing to say real quick as Jeff brought it up. So, I'm very proud of Jeff and his whole staff and team and everything. And it is very special to have moments like, I'll share a quickie story. It's a good story. Nothing embarrassing, but I was married and my wife, she answers the door and she comes running and she's like, there is a big man out front with a baby and he has pig questions. She's like, who is this guy? And here's Jeff with Bailey and we talked about pigs and so, but I had Daniel, you were there, we sat outside, had a beer and BS. So it all comes full circle. I went to school with him. I've had all sorts of fun and crazy adventures. So it is amazing. So the camaraderie is awesome. So good job, girls.
You've made us proud, ladies. Thank
I
you.
also just want to say, as a Bret Hart alumni, I'm extremely proud of you. And I know it's really easy when you're in these moments to be so excited to move out and get away from here. But just remember, as they have both reflected on, this is where you do create some of those friendships. My best friends are the ones that I have from high school. And so enjoy these moments, cherish these moments, and know that it will go really quickly, your high school years, and you'll look back on these moments fondly. So again, just very proud of you and congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you, moms and dads, for supporting student athletes. And ladies, we'll take a short intermission now, and you guys probably want to go.
Get to the boring stuff.
Yeah, and then you
Oh,
guys.
come on, I'll take it over.
But thanks again. And we remember those years in the early 2000s that we used to go to Arco Arena. And you remember those, Coach? Yeah, I remember those long drives, and you guys would have the team would have an outstanding season. And so this 44 years has been a drought for us, and we hope that it continues into the future for all of you. And we always wish you the best.
It'll be fun watching you guys over the next few years, so maybe youngins. So we look forward to watching.
Yeah.
So, ladies and front.
And thank you, Jacob, for what you do for the kids. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
How are ya?
Hey, Naga. You too, sir.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you too. Long time. I just rolled around and give you a hug.
I'm doing long time to see
Thanks.
Oh, yeah? Good. All full circle, yep.
Your basketball too.
Yeah, you were my coach back then, yep.
Thank you. We'll see y'all. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Hey.
I don't.
Yeah, and that's an agenda.
Not to stand in front of you.
I know. Huh?
You're fine.
It's something.
It is.
I think because they want to see
Yeah.
I think.
So I think we're all settled. Sam, are we ready to? Okay, so let's continue. Let's approve the approval of the agenda as posted or amended. Pam? Are there any amendments or changes?
Yes, staff would like to pull out item number 11A. And we would like to bring that back on the next case.
Okay, so we're going to table. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other changes?
I did not see the correspondence show up. I did not see correspondence show up in the updated one.
There was in the updated, what Rose sent out, with the,
Okay.
it's right.
Yeah, I understand. Is the correspondence is not in the packet?
All the correspondence,
We can look right.
Because I downloaded the newest packet.
Online, if you go to the website.
Okay,
So the one that's available on the website does have it.
okay.
And we can pop it up too when it
Okay.
comes time.
That'd be
I'll
great.
put it up
Thank you.
on the TV.
any other comments?
Nope.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Anything from the public? Hearing none. Rose?
Behill,
Aye.
Sharado,
Aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Moncada,
Aye.
Brolio.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 8, or 8 on our agenda. Public comment. The public may address the council on any item of public interest not otherwise on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be referred to city staff or placed on a subsequent meeting agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes per person. Is there anyone in the public? Rose, please remind me about
Online,
online too, please. Thank you.
we have legal right now is the only
Okay,
attendant.
thank you.
But I'll make sure. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Veronica Matilde, and I live here in Angels Camp. I'm here representing Angels Camp Business Association, better known as ACBA. I do want to, of course, invite the entire council and staff and the public to the State of the City meeting, which is Thursday, March 20th, and that's at 8:30 in the morning at Bret Hart Theater. Our mayor will be speaking as to the state of our city. Also, everybody gets to meet Pamela. You're going to be shaking hands again, wondering who's who. We also have Morgan, Morgan Gache is Habitat for Humanity, will be presenting because there's a very large project underway in town. And also John Alexander, who is Executive Director of MACT Health. So very informative. There will be kind of a coffee and snacks in them beforehand, and it will be approximately 1 hour. So it's not going to take all day, but it should be very informative. We're expecting about 150 people right now, hoping for more. It will be recorded, so YouTube will be available at a later date, probably the next day or two. Also, Frog Jump is coming. Forget it, Irish Days is over. We're going on to frogs.
53 days.
We've got the Junior Frog Jump coming up, and this is Saturday, May 20th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And this is going to be at the Mark Twain Elementary School. So I have flyers, and of course, all the public is welcome. And it's just a lot of fun. And the kids get a certificate for their jumps. It's not towards the official jumps. So you know, disclaimer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Veronica.
Thank you.
Ron.
Is it still a sanctioned jump? Is it still a sanctioned jump where if they win the championship, they'll go?
No,
Or it's
it's,
just,
yeah, this is separate for younger.
no, I know, but
it is though.
did they, is what, sorry.
It's okay.
No, I thought
Let's see, I apologize, I stand corrected. Winner qualifies for frog jump finals on Sunday.
awesome.
Okay,
Oh.
thank
So
you.
I
Thank you for that
apologize, I do
clarification.
stand corrected, thanks,
It's
Ms. Bell.
sanctioned.
Yeah, it's,
I always ask them, that's why I wanted to just double check. Thank you.
Anyone else in the press? Thank you. Please state your name.
My name is Kimberly Fish, live in Angels Camp.
Kimberly, do you
Kim,
mind
I don't
turning-
think the mic's
I'm
on.
too
Kim.
short.
No,
There's no-
No, that's a little
It's
button.
not that you're too short. Yeah,
You got it.
Now you got it.
Come on, Mike, I'm too short. I agree. Mayor, city council, and city officials. The last time I stood to talk at this podium was a month shy of 3 years ago today for the same issue, but a different incident that happened back on November 11th, 2024 at my home. I would pray you, the city council, and a lot of others are now aware of. The big issue now is, if this issue was taken care of and remedied the first time, I would not be here with what I am going to be handing you tonight. I have a California Public Records Act request for the City of Angels Camp and the Angels Camp Police Department. Your attention with honesty and transparency in this matter is highly requested in your attention. And I thank you so much. And I'd like to give either Rose or...
Right here.
Okay. Those are the public request acts.
Okay.
Thank you again for listening to me.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? And present? Rose, anyone online?
No.
Okay. Moving to the consent agenda, there are a number of items.
Only to pull E and E.
Okay. Anyone else?
No.
Any member of the public, Rose, online or here, would like to pull a consent agenda item?
No.
Okay, hearing none, we will,
I will move to approve A, B, and C.
A, C, and D. I'm pulling B and E.
Oh, sorry. A, C, D.
there's,
I'll second.
there's, F two.
Okay, so I got a motion to approve A, C, and D.
Yes.
It's one.
And I've got a second, so Behill,
Aye.
Sharado,
Aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Moncada.
I will be abstaining from item C, being that I was absent.
Okay,
Excuse me.
and Brolio.
Aye.
Thank you.
Taking item, you said B, correct?
I said B, and just pulling up the same, I was not there, so I'll need to abstain.
Oh, okay.
So, is there a motion to approve item B with those,
Motion to approve. I'll second.
Rose?
Behill,
Abstain.
Sharado,
Aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Moncada,
Aye.
Brolio.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item E.
Item E, I need to recuse myself because I am on the LLD committee.
Gotcha.
Any other comments? In the public?
Nope.
Online, Rose?
No.
Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who's second, sorry? Moncada?
Yep.
So Behill,
I'm recused, so I'm in another room.
okay, Sharado, Shemente,
Aye.
Moncada,
Aye.
Brolio.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 10A, rural recreation update, Utica Park. Amy.
Mayor and council members, I'm hoping that the next one of these I give you will be the last one that I give you. We are still approximately on schedule to be pulling out the first week in April and completing everything and continuing with our theme of the girls' basketball championship. We were asked this morning what color we would like our basketball court and pickleball court to be painted, and we of course said purple and gold. So that's the color we will have for our stripes. We would have had a little bit further along, but the weather is hampering getting, the batch plants do not open until a certain temperature is reached. And so we have to wait till next week in order to be able to get our paving materials. Trees were planted today, trails almost completed. The frogs got, on March Twain will be installed next Tuesday and Wednesday. And we did move the Veterans Memorial this morning and to its new location, which is about 20 feet from where it was. So it's up higher, it's not down low. And we'll hopefully be having a bench and some landscaping around it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So Amy, is all the conduit placed now, all the trenching, is that completed? And
It's my
Electrical
understanding,
stuff.
I think there's a tiny bit more for some electrical, but I
Okay.
believe all the conduit's done. They also have to finish a tiny bit of the irrigation system from the pavilion over to the amphitheater. But all the other landscaping stuff is done. Ordered the mulch, ordered pretty much everything.
Any other questions from council?
I saw
Anyone
the trees
present
being
have
planted.
any? I'm sorry, what?
I just said, on my walk, I saw the trees being planted.
Oh.
Say that.
Anybody here present? Question? Amy? There's a question.
Oh, yes. Just last meeting, someone had asked about barriers between the parking lot and the playground. And I never thought of it, but I thought that was, it stuck in my head. So did you guys make a decision?
Yeah, so basically, unless directed otherwise, it's basically going to be like it was before, except that now we have a fence around the playground, which we didn't have before, and it is slightly uphill, which it wasn't before. So we are hoping that that will be sufficient to protect.
Yes. It didn't seem like a lot of possibility at all.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah, you'd
do a
really,
turn.
And there are some metal posts that I saw that are up at the top of that hill that kind of.
Yeah, and the concern wasn't here,
It was off the main road, wasn't
it was
off the
Right
here.
down.
Yeah.
it? Oh, is that
coming
what
back
that?
around.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So, yeah, and in fact, with the plantings that we just did, there will be
Yeah.
2 very large trees there and a light pole. So you would have to go through all of that in
Oh,
order
geez.
to, and the fence, in order to get to the kids. So we're feeling pretty comfortable with that.
how exciting. Public comment, how exciting.
Anyone online, Rose? Okay. So, thank you, Amy, for your report, and thank you for all the work that you've done to navigate us through the many storms that we've experienced with our park, and we're looking forward to its completion. Item B, approve resolution number 25-13, declaring Utica Lightner Mine Park a tobacco-free, non-vaping zone, and direct staff to prepare an ordinance to enforce the policy. Amy.
Mayor and council members, we actually have representatives from the program here, in case you have any specific questions. Just a small history lesson, you probably don't realize that we in fact have a no smoking provision in our code as we speak, but it pertains to dance halls.
Dance halls.
You are not allowed to do lewd, suggestive, or unusual dancing on a dance floor in Angels Camp, nor may you smoke.
Seriously.
What we're asking with this particular resolution is not so much that you adopt an ordinance at this time, but that you adopt a policy at this time. That is the main thrust of this, is that you make it a policy not to do smoking, no vaping, tobacco-free zone. If you would like us to proceed with preparing an ordinance for enforcement purposes, you may direct staff to in fact do that if you would like. But right now, we're just asking you for an ordinance. And I will defer to our representatives from the county to talk about any specifics that might happen. We were actually thinking of educational signage, that kind of thing was actually what we're trying to get through. And in looking at this, our main thrust was health. We have a higher than normal incidence of heart disease, lung disease in this county and in the city. We know we've had fires in the past, so anything that could keep flames away would be great. And of course, we'd love to not have to be picking up cigarette butts, for maintenance purposes. But however that turns out, we'll take your direction in terms of an ordinance if you want us to pursue one. Otherwise, I'd be happy to answer any questions or let our representatives.
Yeah, you can go up. Okay, that's fine, no, we appreciate your time. Thank you. Please state your name first.
Hello, my name is Savannah Pascal with Calaveras Public Health and the Tobacco Prevention Program. So we have spoken and kind of been working with Amy. We went around the park and kind of just saw what was going on there, seeing the areas where the children are going to be, where people are going to be relaxing and hanging out. And so my partner here, Danny, he is gonna be in charge of deciding what those signs look like and to kind of bring those forward. But we're looking at having just some general non-smoking sign, if approved, we're looking to have just some general non-smoking signs throughout the park. And then some educational ones by like the workout area, maybe having something talking about the effects of using tobacco on your body and what that may mean and how to just kind of have a long-lasting life free of use. And so we just want to be able to do that and potentially have some educational material during the grand opening to be able to promote that as well. And to be able to have like resources if people are trying to quit, to also let them know how to be able to quit, to reach out to us to get like resources or to get, we have these things called quit kits that have handbooks in them and other information to kind of help the person stop using tobacco with gum, stuff like that. So we just really want to get the word out there and let people know that this is a choice, and if they need help with it, that they can come to us, and also that this is not, around the children is not where it should be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you guys have any questions for me at all? Okay.
I have one question.
Yes.
In terms of, sorry, I think this is off. In terms of that signage, is it possible, and if I'm wrong, that's totally fine, but to put like a QR code on there that we can then, so that way we're not having to change the signage anytime
And
there's
you
like
mean,
something new. I'm just saying for those resources.
That would link to those
Yeah, are
resources
those
sort of Calaveras County
versions that
Public
get
Health.
updated annually? I'm just wondering if there's a way to have a QR code on those signs to the landing page, that then on that landing page, you can always be switching out the material, so we don't have to re-update those signs every so often.
yeah, so we plan to potentially, if obviously we haven't brought anything up yet, we're potentially looking to have a QR code on there, but also just to be able to take it to the website where they can look at what quick kits are, what CDPH is saying about it, Kick It California. So we'll bring it to our general website where we update that at least yearly with new information.
Awesome, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. So I have a question, Scott, and the council. What's your pleasure? Is your pleasure not to do an ordinance and then see how it goes and then come back if we need an ordinance, or should we include an ordinance with this tobacco-free zone?
I'm good with going with staff.
Well, right, but I think staff was looking for direction, kind of.
Oh, sorry, okay. I thought you didn't want an ordinance, or you said that maybe.
Yeah, our ordinances for dance hall.
Yeah, the ordinance would allow for enforcement.
Right.
It would allow like PD or somebody to go in and say, hey,
That's
smoking.
okay, I got you.
Whereas this would basically give us the policy and the educational outreach, and it would be way more informal in terms of enforcement. We wouldn't have a penalty. It would be more of a, hey, we encourage you not to smoke here. Type of a thing.
So if we'd like to, I guess my question is, do we want to start there and then see, and then
I
if
would
it
like
becomes an issue, come back?
I would like to start there.
I'm all for the education process, and I like the idea of no smoking or vaping in the park. But I do believe there has to be some small area in the park to accommodate those who do smoke. So if there's a way to do that, a couple of reasons. One is, well, smokers are taxpayers too, but also I can see with an ordinance, I can see our police department being inundated with, they're smoking. And we've got one or two officers on duty most of the time. Is that really what we want them spending their time doing? So I have a big concern about the enforcement of this, so I would not want to see an ordinance. And also I would want to make some accommodation. And I'm looking at the map, I'm thinking somewhere in the right or west of the bathroom, maybe by where the fire hydrant is or where that marker is. There's a space between the parking lot and the concrete sidewalk. Maybe we can make that a smoking area, a designated smoking area. Just try to take the pressure off the enforcement aspect of it, but still provide all the education and signage elsewhere.
To clarify, if we approve this resolution, then we are saying that we are directing staff to prepare an ordinance to enforce the policy? Am I reading that correctly?
Correct, however, you can amend that ordinance, that resolution to exclude that portion.
Right, I just wanted to clarify that, thank you.
I'm sorry, another point of clarification. If it was not an ordinance, would that cause confusion among the public? When they call the police would say what? That's not an ordinance, that's not illegal?
It's not something they can go and write a ticket for.
It's
It is the policy of the city council. And that we would discourage smoking at the park. It's not something Scott could go and write a ticket for. Unless, I guess you were enforcing the California law, which I don't think you do, for the 25 feet away from the playground.
I would just say the language on the no smoking.
You have to come up.
I would just say the language on the no smoking portion is gonna have to be, careful, because I think people are gonna see no smoking, they're gonna assume that it's illegal, meaning there's a criminal offense associated to it, and we're still gonna be receiving the calls. Our contracted dispatch center is gonna be receiving the calls
Anyway.
of people complaining about it. So as soon as you put no smoking allowed, and then somebody says, I'm gonna smoke anyways, and then somebody's gonna pick up the phone and call dispatch, then dispatch, unless provided other direction by the police department regarding those types of calls, is gonna dispatch a police officer regardless. So I just caution you as far as that, once you put no smoking, people are gonna assume that it must be illegal then.
May I make a
Yes,
comment?
you may.
So you recommend an ordinance to give us some teeth?
My recommendation for an ordinance would be a specified portion of the park, not necessarily the whole park, like the playground area and maybe
In the workout area.
in the workout area, because smoking and working out don't really go well together. And not necessarily the entire park if an ordinance is enacted on it.
So I completely understand what you're saying there and with the enforcement part. I do want to go ahead and note that in San Andreas, there is Turner Park. Turner Park used to be a park that you could smoke at, and now it's a smoke-free park. And since then, we've actually seen a large decrease in litter there. We hardly see any tobacco products there at all now, and nicotine products. So I just want to mention that as well, that we have, not you guys specifically, but we have had that done at a different park, and we have seen a great decrease because of that. And in that area, there was not a specific place for them to smoke. Not saying that that can't be put in, but I just want to say that that is a good example to look at.
It's definitely a good deterrence either way by posting signs on there, just with the council's knowledge that there's no enforcement action that can be taken based on it.
Right.
I just think though that the no smoking's gotta extend to the amphitheater too though. With people sitting there and
And the pavilion.
the pavilion,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would just say, I actually, maybe Scott's idea is the right idea. It's a non-smoking park except for this one
Right.
designated area. And if Scott for some reason gets called, you can say it's a non-smoking park, but there is this designated area over there. And then if it does continue to happen, maybe we do need to give it teeth, but hopefully you don't get inundated with calls, and this is just the way it is. And it's a tobacco-free park except for this one little, 10 by 10, wherever we specify it there.
Yeah, we'll definitely let council know if it becomes an issue.
Right.
And it's something that we need to address in the future.
Oh, I have a question. As far as the funding for the signs, does it change if we have a designated smoking area? Are you still going to be able to do the signage?
I would actually have to take that back and look. It is potential that we may not be able to, because this funding is to be able to promote smoke-free parks.
Gotcha.
Yes, so that is potential. I will, if we come forward and address this, I'll make sure to bring that information to you guys in the future.
So a hypothetical situation, we do move forward with an ordinance, it's smoke-free entirely. Can they smoke in the
Parking lot. I know.
Yeah.
I was thinking the parking lot might be the.
Like, is that an
area that they can
enforceable
smoke.
area, not enforceable area?
No, because that's not considered the park.
That's
Right.
considered
So
a street.
Yeah,
Okay,
Right,
so
so
then,
they could go to the street and smoke,
sure,
because it's not the park.
correct.
That
And there
solves
you
that
go.
problem.
It's
there.
still
I would rather stick with it being a smoke-free park, and if they want to smoke, then they can smoke.
In the parking lot.
In the parking lot.
Hopefully they're supervised.
Would that work on that?
Yes, I believe that would work regarding that, because the park would still be considered smoke-free.
Okay.
So it would fall under that, yes.
That's a bigger smoking area than I thought it.
Right? I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I hate to say it, but I'm like, oh, they could just walk down the street a little bit.
Or go up on the street.
Well, let me ask you that. Is like a drug-free zone, a smoke-free zone, is there so many feet you have to be away from the park itself in order to smoke?
I do not know the answer to the question,
Okay.
that question right offhand.
Okay. Okay.
He's staring, so I'm seeing if he happens to know back there. But no, not that I have read in any of our
Okay,
paperwork,
okay.
no.
Amy.
State of California does have some regulations, not within 25 feet of a playground, for example.
Okay, on the playground. Okay,
Anywhere else.
But not, if it's a slippery park, how far that extends at all?
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
okay. All right. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I'd love it to be smoke-free zone, because I know it's fun. And it stinks. But if you, and I believe that it's a great answer, just go to the parking lot, stay away from the playground and the exercise area. The only issue I see is cigarette butts. Is there anything that the city can come up with for ashtrays that won't get trashed and, stolen, but something to at least help out the trash part of smoking?
The only comment I have on that is if you put ashtrays out there, then you're making it kind of a.
Right, exactly.
conversation. So
I know, it's a catch, I know.
people are gonna have the impression, we got ashtrays out here, I must be able to smoke, so
Way far away.
in the parking lot.
Yeah, in the parking lot.
Chris, as your staff, will have to deal with any of any input.
Well, they do make ashtrays for that specific purpose. Like I said, they do make ashtrays for that specific purpose that are not easily stolen, but as far as people messing with them, knocking them over, things like that, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But, it's just something we'll have to deal with. But yeah, we can come up with something.
Yeah, because the parking lot.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other public comment? Anyone online, Rose? So we have to amend, you want to make a motion?
I'll make them.
You want to make, we have to amend the resolution.
I will make a motion to declare Utica Park, Light Your Mind, a tobacco-free zone that is not an ordinance, not, well, it's tobacco too, right?
Well, they have it
Oh.
for non-vaping.
Yeah, hold on, then I gotta get,
Amy, would it be helpful, Matt?
So basically, your motion is to declare Utica Light Your Mind Park a tobacco-free, non-vaping zone, but not directing staff to prepare an ordinance to enforce the policy.
correct. And if they want to smoke, they can go out and
So.
park. And we'll see how it goes.
Right,
I don't
and
think we need to
may or
say
may not.
No, I wouldn't leave for that in there. No, not at all. No, that should.
So Amy, can't we just, Rose, that last whereas, this resolution establishes the city's intent to consider said, can we just kind of, take that part out and to establish a policy prohibiting the use? Because we're really establishing a policy. So can we just amend that last whereas?
You just get rid of on the very last, now therefore be it resolved that the city council of the city of Angels hereby adopts a policy prohibiting the use of tobacco products and vaping at the park, and then delete and direct staff to bring forth an ordinance to enforce this action.
And so we're gonna get rid of, so we're gonna delete that whole last whereas then?
Yeah.
No?
No.
We're gonna leave it, but just
Yes,
Just the last.
yes. And then the now therefore,
Okay.
and second half, the sentence.
I got it.
You got it?
I got
Okay.
it. So Alvin's making the motion.
Got it.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second.
Behill,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Shemente,
I didn't get to talk, did he? Aye.
Moncada,
Aye.
Brolio.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 10C. Approve resolution number 2514, requesting reallocation of the fiscal year 24-25 and fiscal year 25-26 congestion mitigation air quality program funding for the Angels Camp Trail. Amy.
Mayor and council members, the Council of Governments asked for formal action from you to allow them to take the $906,000 that was going to be allocated towards constructing the Angels Creek Trail, to lend it to another project at such time as we are ready to construct it. They will then give it back to us. But they wanted to make sure that we had brought that to you, that you were okay with that before they proceeded. I would be happy to answer any questions.
So is this ongoing funding we're talking about? Because we did this once before.
Yes, we've done it like twice.
We've done it twice.
This is our
Twice now?
third time.
And it's ongoing funding.
It's
Yes.
funding that's been earmarked for that project, and once we're ready to pull the trigger on that, it's there. But in the meantime, other projects need to move forward.
Right. So when you say it's there, the money that we're allocating to COG is gonna be expended, correct?
Correct, but then they get the funding for those other projects that will come in, and that will be the funding of our project.
So there's another stream of funding that comes in on a regular basis?
Or we
Okay.
funded, we loaned Stanislaus
Yeah.
County COG, our money, and then when we wanted, because they had,
something that needed to be going right away, and ours was still not ready to.
right, I don't know if it was, yeah,
Okay.
in CMAC, there was all sorts of different
We're
funds.
essentially loaning it.
We're essentially loaning it
and
to
then they'll
another
give it
COG,
back.
and then they'll give it back.
And so
Yes.
what you're saying is, it's good to loan, and I agree, and there's no fear that we're not gonna be able to get repaid.
Right.
That's what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it true that if we don't use the money, we lose it?
We can.
So,
It can.
yeah, so it can happen, so the loaning it protects us
Correct.
against
Yes.
that possibility.
Yes, because it is being used for other projects.
Right.
And they are trying to make sure that as many state-funded things are being allocated to projects now as opposed to relying on federal.
Yes.
Any other comment from
Sorry.
The audience? the public here? Rose, anybody online have a comment regarding this item? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Hold on, I got
Well,
one.
I'm sorry, what?
You're fine, you were going, so I have one question for
I'm
you.
sorry.
On the Angels Creek Trail out here, right, where do we stand?
So we have a new scope of work from Dewberry.
Okay.
They have to finish FEMA, or NEPA, the
Okay, so
federal environmental.
environmental
We're
quality.
done with.
Seek
this.
was done?
CEQA is done,
Okay.
and they only need one study, a hydraulic study, in order to finish
Okay.
NEPA. And then they have to still do some design work,
Okay,
and the monies we have in our STP can cover that. What we don't have yet is money for right-of-way acquisitions.
okay.
And so we need to start looking at allocating monies towards that and finding monies towards that.
Okay.
And we do not yet know how much that is going to be.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, sorry, I just wanted that.
No, I apologize.
You're fine.
Anyone else in public? Rosie, anyone online? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion for the public? Council? Hearing none, Rose?
Behill,
Aye.
Sharada,
Aye.
Shemente,
Aye.
Moncada,
Aye.
Brilliant.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 10D, authorize the city administrator to execute a construction contract with Neerich and Sons and Company in the amount of $787,955 and approve supplemental work and change orders not to exceed $25,000 as it relates to the Mark Twain Water Distribution System improvement projects. And is Dave here online? or-
Dave is online.
Dave's online. Okay. Dave, would you like to say anything about this before we ask questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The staff report that you have in front of you is a summary of the bids that were received last week for the Mark Twain Water System Improvements Project. We received 3 bids. We have reviewed the bids. We have checked the references for the low bidder. We have inquired regarding certain items within their bid, and we have confirmed that they are the lowest responsible and responsive bid. And we recommend that the city council authorize a contract with Neerich. The J is silent in their name, Neerich and Sons out of Sonora, for the water system improvements project at Mark Twain.
So, Dave, the only question I have is if you look at the bid and you look at Sutton's and Neerich's, the only true difference is towards the bottom where it talks about removal of hard rock material. There's a huge discrepancy, and was the kicker that awarded the contract. Is there a rock clause or something, or why is there such a discrepancy between those two line items, do you think?
Well, that was part of the due diligence, Mr. Mayor, that we undertook. I think it's important just to sort of set some context for the rock clause. This is, and the line item that you see as an additive bid. This was frankly a request from one of the bidders during the pre-bid meeting. He was very concerned that that there was not a method or a protocol for him to potentially get paid if he ran into particularly, and I know it seems like we're splitting hairs, but there's a difference between rock and hard rock. And he was very concerned that it would just lead to an argument ultimately during construction and that. So we added a rock clause, which essentially sets the playing field for when are you potentially entitled to extra dollars dealing with hard rock material. So that was added as part of an addendum to the bidding documents, and the idea with that again was to provide some level playing field and a mechanism for a contractor to, if you ran into something particularly difficult to remove, that there was a way for him to get paid. So we put that in there. What you see in that difference between the two is really sort of a differences in approach as to how you will deal with rock. When we saw that difference, Mr. Mayor, we actually sent an email over to Neerich and specifically asked, is your unit cost, is that correct? I have to admit, when I saw their unit cost, I was fearful that they had made a mistake in math and they hadn't used the right number. And so we went back to them and explained how that unit cost was going to be used. We sent an email to them and they came back and said, no, we're good. We're good with our number. Nonetheless, we took the extra step. We took the extra step of talking in particular to one of their references, someone, the district engineer from Groveland Community Services District. They had listed a large project that they had done for Groveland, and I specifically was particularly interested in talking to that district engineer because in an earlier firm, I had spent a fair amount of time in Groveland doing projects, and I knew how difficult work in that area was. So I talked to the district engineer. I asked him Neerich's record, and he had nothing but positive things to say about them. What really impressed me more than anything else was on their most recent project, which was well over $2 million, they had, working in the mountains and that, they had 0 change orders. 0. They did not come back from $1 to the district. And I said, well, aren't you working in rock and the district engineer told me, yes, we're always working in rock. These folks know which equipment to bring from the beginning. And we had no issues with extra costs or anything associated with hard rock material. So at that point, Mr. Mayor, it just seemed like these folks seem obviously prepared to deal with any hard materials on this project. That's their. I suspect that they're a contractor that's not real interested in change orders in that. And it's not taking anything away from Sutton Enterprises and that, who know this area very, very well. It's just pretty much you look at their number on that, and you basically the conclusion that you come to is they're not looking for any extra money for rock. They're going to get the rock out with their equipment, and it's not the little bit of money that they potentially would earn is trivial. And so it's a different approach, but it seemed like an approach that has proven successful with other agencies.
Thank you.
Too much of an explanation, Mr. Mayor?
No, thank you, Bill. Any other questions?
Hi, Dave. This is Caroline Sharado. Did you give give a call to Sutton Enterprises to give them the opportunity to explain the 245 unit price on their bid to see if they wanted to adjust that down, if that was correct?
They did on their project that I was referring to, that there was not a rock clause. They did not have a rock clause on that project. And so there was no, if there was going to be an argument over rock removal on that project, it never occurred.
Any other questions from council?
I have a question. Hi, Dave, it's Isabel. I was just out of curiosity, what was the engineer's estimate for that? I don't see, I just see the.
Well, ask that, because that's a great question to
But
ask.
I'm just curious what your engineer's estimate was in terms of that cost for the unit price.
We thought that number would be on the order of about $100 a cubic yard.
Gotcha.
That's what we have seen before. We just recently finished a project with a large contractor up in Placer County in Auburn, and we had a rock clause, and he had a number, and we used the rock clause, and he had a number on the order of 100.
Got it, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone from the public? Online? You know, Dave, I was impressed that these bids were real close to your estimate that you created for us with the CIP project, whatever so that's exciting news to me. That you know, when we go out for the other CIP projects, with what you estimated the project cost to be, maybe close to what it's actually gonna be. So that's good news. My last question, typically in construction, I always look at like a 10% in change orders. So do you believe this $25,000 is gonna be enough for the scope of this work?
Well, so the $25,000, I put that number in there, and you know, Pam will run the show when it comes to the change orders and that. And frankly, I did in the previous project that we had done, where on Booster Way, where Steve was running the show for us in terms of the dollars and that. There was no provision for Steve to, at least at the beginning, there was no provision for Steve to authorize any change orders.
Okay.
So we were coming back to the city council to go through that exercise, which certainly we can do for any change order in that. But I thought this the previous city administrator, well, actually two previous city administrators like to have that flexibility in the be able to approve a change order without necessarily coming before the city council. So that $25,000 is just literally a placeholder, was to give Pam, and it's obviously up to her, any flexibility that she wanted in terms of if we do have change orders in that. I think, to be honest, 5% is, if we can stay within 5%, Mr. Mayor, which is probably a little bit higher than the 25,000 of that, but it's a start. It's, as I say, this contractor doesn't seem to, at least from his last large project, doesn't seem to be interested in pursuing change orders and that. So we'll see how it goes. Again, probably too much explanation for why the 25,000, but it was really meant to provide some flexibility for the city administrator.
Perfect, so that she can, perfect, thank you. So I think we've asked for comments here in the public, anything online? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with Near Angels.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion from the council, public, online? Hearing none. Rose?
Behill.
Aye.
Sharada.
Aye.
Shemente.
Aye.
Moncada.
Aye.
Brilliant.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on to item E, approve the contract with Pavement Coatings Company in the amount of $180,509.60 for completion of the chip sealing, speed table, and pavement marking projects. Chris?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council people. I am here asking for your permission to move forward with the contract with Pavement Coatings Company for $180,509.60 to get the chip sealing and speed tables installed on Gardner Lane, Easy Street, Casey Street, Holly Street, and Kirby Street.
So once the council approves, the notification will go out to the residents?
First, we gotta find the proper amount of time with good weather for us to be able to get the project done. Once I have that nailed down, yes, we'll be going out and letting folks know in that neighborhood, hey, we're getting ready to do this, and we'll have a schedule of what street, what day, and everything else.
Chris, what's the drive time after they chip seal? How long do they have to stay off of it?
It's reasonably quick, but the warmer the weather, the quicker it sets up.
Any other questions from council?
I'm glad to have a road project on it.
I'm working on it.
What's the timeline in terms of start to finish? Obviously, it depends on
Honestly,
the weather,
it probably won't take them more than a week. I mean, it should go pretty fast. I mean, the crack sealing's already been done, all the roads, we crack sealed and it's ready to go. So, I mean, we did that back in November, but unfortunately, we ran into a little bit of weather and stuff, and they said, hey, we want to put it off till spring, so. We're getting towards spring, so I'm trying to get the ball rolling a little ahead of time.
I have one comment question. So looking at this, the contractor was over on a few of his last bids, it looked like. Do we need to put in a 5% or whatever for change order type things that you guys could
Honestly,
approve without bringing back, or?
I mean, that would be up to you. I mean, I don't mind if they have a little bit of a change order coming in front of you again and asking for it. That's really not.
Okay, that's fine, then there you
go.
I'll leave it as go.
So, Chris and Alvin, I want to just follow up. If you look at their references, it just looks like a number of the projects, the bid price was always escalated. And so it makes me wonder whether or not they were, value enhanced change orders that, the customer went in and said, hey, can you go ahead and pave this other street while you're here?
Right.
I mean, we don't know that.
Right.
I mean, but what you're assuming, if you watching it, is that the price that they quoted should be the price at which they do the job.
Correct.
Because we've been very specific about what we want done there.
Yes, very, very specific. We even went as far as to give them the Caltrans specs and everything else. We spec'd everything that they're doing. Aaron Bruce Torrey, our city engineers, or they've given me submittals. He's looked at all their submittals and approved them. So I mean, everything looks, on the up and up. So.
Any other questions from council? Any public? Yes.
Go ahead.
You gotta come on down.
Yeah, you're gonna get your steps in.
All my questions are for you, so. So the speed table,
Yes.
can you describe it?
It's basically like a speed bump, but it's flat.
Right,
And it's
wider.
okay, that's great. I love those.
Yes.
I've
It's
been
flatter and
asking
lower.
for them for, can you give me the streets again?
So the speed tables are going on Gardner. And then the chip sealing's happening on Holly Street, Casey Street, Kirby Street, and Easy Street.
Okay. How do we request speed tables for streets? You guys?
You have to go before the council.
Okay, thanks. I'll make my list.
And we'll check it once.
Mr. Son, Chris, can you define where Kirby Street is?
Yeah, I'd have to look at a map though.
Because both of those are gravel.
And they're private property.
These are both private.
I believe there's one section there that is paved. Oh, I'll look at my map.
Yeah.
Right, thanks. Any other questions?
Any other public? Anyone online? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the project?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
It's been a motion and second. Any other discussion? Any other questions? Hearing none, Rose?
Behill.
Aye.
Sharado.
Aye.
Shemente.
Aye.
Moncada.
Aye.
Brolio.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for the work that you do.
Mhm.
Item F, mid-year budget review and approval, and approved resolution number 25-16, amending the 24-25 budget for the mid-year adjustments. Michelle?
Mayor and council members, hello. I'm here to present our mid-year budget and adjustments recommendations. So this year, to give you a little history, when we were building the budget for fiscal year 24-25, which began in July, goes through June 30th. We took the approach of having a bare bones budget because we knew that 3 of our bargaining groups were going to be going to negotiations, and we had that pot of money. That was basically when we looked at all of our revenue minus our bare bones basic expenditures for the year. We would have about $157,000 remaining to give increases to employees and benefits for negotiations. So this is kind of the true up to all of that. We went back in and looked at what our actual spend.
Sorry, I was just trying to answer a question.
I know. So we went back and we looked at what our spending was through December, and then did a projection of salaries and benefits and operating expenses through the year. So that was the first step approach I took. Sent that out to all of our department heads. We met, we discussed areas of concern, but pretty much we were able to cover all of those adjustments and look at any operating expenses. Maybe we needed to move some line items around, which, you know, we can do without changing that bottom line. So then the next step was to go back to the original wish list that we built and look at that. So in this process, one of the things that stood out was I also look at our projected revenues. And so starting with the revenues, we were conservative when we built those budgets. So I'm looking back 3 to 5 years, looking at trending in sales tax, TOT for the city, property taxes, and looking at normal increases, and then I back it up. So a lot of those increases were between 2 and 3%. We only gave it a 1% increase because we want to be conservative in case something happens. And so in this year, unfortunately, what we started seeing in the second and projections for the third quarter for the year, we saw a decrease in sales tax and also in our TOT. And so we needed to make adjustments to the budget to start there. And so in my projections, I also looked at surrounding counties to see if this is going to be a trending, because I'm also next month going to start filling the budget for next year. So we're going to look at that. Now, I don't have that January through March data from the sales tax yet, but you have an idea, you know, what we can estimate just based on trending and where we're going. So I was able to project out that sales tax. And so we were looking at a reduction of sales tax for this year under our budgeted numbers of about $75,000. Now, in that category, it's you know, we had originally budgeted a little over $2 million for that. So it's a small decrease, but it's something that was significant enough with the dollars we were working with to make the change during mid-year. And then we also looked at TOT. And that was falling short about $75,000, and that also gets allocated to for tourism, for roads, for fire, and public safety. So, and then the rest supports the general fund, which is all of our departments. So those were 2 adjustments I had to take down, but we also budgeted bare bones for Measure A, and that's the fire tax, the additional 1% sales tax. So looking at actuals, originally we had projected for this year that it would be around like $430,000. It's looking like it's going to be coming in closer to about $387,000. So that's also down, same trending as the sales tax. But because we had only put in our budget $245,000 and we had already given those increases and whatnot, I was able to net the total revenue that it only went down about $75,000 with the additional Measure A in the budget and then the decreases in sales and TOT. Looking at some of those projections, because I thought you might have some questions, I looked at some of our surrounding counties to see what those projections, like, is this a trend? Is this something that's just happening here? Are we seeing this statewide? I did look mainly in this region, and I noticed that in quarters 1 through 3, comparing 2024 to 2023, we saw a decrease all across the board in Amador, Calaveras, and Tuolumne. Amador saw an 8% decrease, Calaveras saw an 8% decrease,
Wow.
and Tuolumne was about a 3% decrease in sales tax. So it's definitely something we'll keep watching, but it is happening all throughout this region. So something to watch for building the next year's budget. And then moving on, the good news is our expenditures. We've been very conservative with our expenditures. Typically, when I'm looking at operating costs such as utilities or some of those fixed costs, fuel, I'm looking at an average. I go back 3 years and I'm looking at an average of what we typically spend, and then look at factors like, do we have more vehicles? Do we have, more employees, and factor those things in there. So we did have some savings because now I'm doing a true up. I base my budget off of these projections, and then the second half, I'm gonna true things up. And so because we had some savings, we had positions fully budgeted, such as the city administrator, for the entire year with benefits. We also had some vacant positions, and we always budget for full benefits because you never know what that employee is going to take. So we had some savings in fixed operating costs and also in salaries. So it was able to offset what we did, that we didn't need to come back to you and ask for more money, and we were able to get a zero-based budget net. And so looking forward at some of our savings for next year, one of our positive things is our new accounting software, which I'm excited. We just have payroll and utility billing to move over in these next few months. We are operating 100% in AP, like cash receipts, if it doesn't deal with utility billing. So anything, journal entries, everything is live in the new system. And so we've created the chart of accounts, and so a lot of good things. If you remember, we purchased the software and we're paying to have it hosted, whereas before we would pay for like a leasing of the software. So we're projecting to have about a $30,000 savings next year by going to this new method where we now own it. It used to cost us about $40,000 a year. It'll be around $12,000 to $14,000 for the hosting fees and support. So we will see a savings there. And we're also going to look into other softwares that we're using, because we added in the last few years quite a bit of different platforms. So I'm going to go back and visit with the department heads and see what we're using, and can we get rid of some of these things, because those things are expensive. One of the new big pieces is iWork. We do use it for our building and planning department, but I'm not sure, is there pieces now that we have in AccuFund that come with the system that we can use in public works or different places. And I know, just looking at that, that's like $21,000 a year that we pay for that software. If we could cut something like that in half, that would be another significant. So we're going to start looking at all of these things, just so you know. We're active now in doing these things. And then we also will look at consulting contracts, and we've talked about this, looking at versus in-house, the cost versus going out, and looking at these contracts. A lot of our contracts, some of them were 3-year contracts. There's a few that will be coming due this year, but we're going to look at all of them and bring that back to you.
There's also going to be the savings when we set aside some of the money when we hired Michael. Remember,
Yes.
in case Michael was overwhelmed. Have we expended any of those dollars?
Very little.
And I think it was like $20,000 or $25,000 that we set aside.
Mainly in code enforcement, we've had the consultant come in, but it's been like very little. Maybe for a few hours once a month. Yeah, so we do have a savings there. So overall, what we're asking for additionally, which we, in the general fund, we have the money to cover that, is in our Measure A funds. We, like I said, we received a little bit more than what we had originally put into the budget. We used the number that the JPA gave us, even though we knew that would be low. And after we've paid all of the salaries, so the permanent firefighters were retroed back to July 1. with the new wages. But in January, what they didn't see the full extent, they changed their hours. They went from, I think it was 28, 42?
2184 to 2912.
2912, so they've increased their hours, and then we increased the pay. And then we had three members, captain, a firefighter, and an engineer on at all shifts. So that took effect, and so the projections were using those new numbers, but we really only had that model in place for maybe 5 months of the rest of this fiscal year. So we did have a little bit of a savings from the Measure A money. And one of the requests would be to replace a 2003 truck utility vehicle and upgrading it and looking at either something that might be a hybrid or a EV or gas. We'll bring that back to you to have more discussion around. But we do have the money to cover it in the budget. And so that would just be an additional request that we didn't have in the first budget, and that we're asking to allocate that line item for a vehicle. And then in the water and wastewater side, we are looking at adding a vehicle to replace a truck that's from 2010. It's had quite a bit of repairs recently put into it, and it broke again. And it's just not worth putting money into anymore. And so we are looking at replacing that truck. It's one of their main trucks that carries all their tools. So it's an important vehicle, and when it's down, it really puts a drag on the system. So, and then we're also looking at putting security cameras out at the wastewater plant. Is that correct? That was the plant where we used to park our vehicles, and there were several parts from the vehicles that were stolen, including Cadillac converters. And then there was a shed with parts in there that they broke into and stole. So we moved the vehicles over by City Hall, but that means the employees, when they report to work, have to come to City Hall, drop off their vehicles, go into the city vehicle, and then return it at the end of the day. So there's downtime for staff that you're having to cover as they transfer vehicles. So we could move it back to there. And Chris is excited about this system because it will detect between an animal and a human, and he would get a notification and could bring it up on his phone and see if it was somebody who belongs there or not, and dispatch, let PD know that they need to come out and look at that. So it would be a positive thing out there. So we are requesting that we increase the budget to allow for those additional two vehicles, and then the security system.
And then the AT&T lines for the museum.
Yes, correct. And then we did put in, because we have money in our TOT for tourism to cover, because we always have a rollover. We don't spend all of those funds, and that would cover the $9,000 to lift the phone lines to move that house to the museum. So we would be covering that expense.
On the rollover you talked about, because we hit police, fire, and the museum out of the TOT. What did we hit out of the TOT?
Yeah, so it's.
Is there a rollover for all three?
No, just in our tourism.
Just in the tourism, okay.
Yeah. So there's about $157,000 that gets allocated to roads, tourism, and then fire.
That's public safety.
But it's public safety, correct, but right now.
So that could be
the fire
police or,
budget.
it could be police or public works or fire.
I have a question. With the fire staff up to the levels it's at, I anticipate we're gonna be able to earn a lot more revenue in the next fire season by going out on fires and calls. Is that built in? Have you considered that? Or is that next year's budget?
That would be in next year's budget. This year, we did not send out any strike teams, so we didn't have any additional
We should be
revenue.
ready to go next year.
But next year, that would be up to the
I
fire chief.
understand that's a significant revenue stream.
Yeah, and we've used those funds before when they go out. those salaries are allocated. We have a special revenue fund set up for strike teams, and we're able to allocate those salaries and costs directly to that. And then any monies where we want to purchase things, like equipment, fire trucks, different things, we can transfer that over. I think this year we had some rollover from that fund, and we purchased radios and new hoses for the trucks.
I had a question about the fire vehicle, and so I didn't know we had an additional fire vehicle. I know we have the Suburban, but I didn't realize we had another truck. With Measure A funds coming in and the continued funding from general fund and TOT tax, I kind of feel like they need to find that money. I feel like we need to make some adjustments with the budget on that. I don't know that I'm leaning towards getting this vehicle at this point, just because we've given so much money to fire through Measure A. And I'd like to maybe see some of the funding that Measure A is offsetting from our general fund to kind of keep that money either in general fund or from TOT to put it into another pot of much needed funding.
So Measure A funds, we can only roll over 10% at the end of the year, so if we don't spend it.
So this will just be that 10%, or is that gonna be, is it taking us to the under the 10%?
This would zero it out, it would spend all of it.
So you can roll over 10%?
You can roll over 10%, yes.
So I just feel like we've given a lot of money to the fire department, and I love the fire department. I'm not saying I don't love fire departments, but I just feel like I'd like to keep some consciousness around that, and not, like, when there's an opportunity, because Measure A's money is coming in, that we can maybe free some general fund money up that would normally have gone to fire.
And so in the budget next year, I've already started looking at police salaries. Scott had asked me about some wishes that he has in terms of making his staff member at the front desk full-time. So we ran some numbers for that. I need to do the same thing for fire for next year, because we also have to remember that Measure A is tied to sales tax. So if we're going to be seeing a decrease in that, we have to be careful about how much TOT we would take away to put towards the police.
Right, all of these things are very volatile, which is also not great for us on budgeting, so.
Well, and also $2 billion of our regular general fund money comes from sales tax, and then another $700,000 comes from TOT, and those are all very volatile. So.
So I'm glad you brought up the police department, because that is, considered public safety. So if there's any way that we can start just looking ahead and how we can build up some of those fundings for other public safety things out of TOT as well, that would be good, because fire's pretty funded right now.
Right.
You know, I think once you get a handle on what we're gonna collect with Measure A and what we're expending, and we see some kind of pattern, then I think then we can look at TOT and say, we can pull some money out of TOT then, and use those dollars to offset. So I agree, but I think we just need to be cautious and kind of look at it over time to see what the costs are. The question I have, Michelle, is this is kind of like a snapshot. This isn't the end of the year. And I appreciate the fact that you budget conservatively, both expenditures and income. I think that's a great way to do that. But what do we anticipate the end of the year to be? I mean, now that we're entering summertime, sales tax and TOT tax, that could increase, right? So the trend, while I think I agree the economy is slowing down, we may not necessarily see that complete deficit that we're seeing right now in June.
In June, correct, yes. And, but I am comparing not just the full year of revenue, I'm looking at each quarter. So those trends tend to stay the same, and so what we're seeing is that it's even in the high time at like Christmas time, holiday sales and that sort of thing. It even decreased by like 1.5% from the prior year. So we're definitely seeing a downward trend. We can hope that everything picks up here this spring, but we're going to project that out. And then yes, of course, at the end of the year, there may be excess, and then if we do receive more revenue, and then we have an expenditures, at least right now being conservative, we know we're going to meet the bottom line and not have to pull from reserves. But if we do have a surplus, that would go into reserves for future years.
And like with our bulk diesel, we go out to bid for that, correct? Or is it just market value?
It's been with Hunt and Sons for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, they service.
Yeah, okay, yeah, almost, huh?
Well, there was Brashears,
Yeah.
and then they're gone because I
Yeah.
bought them up. They're
Yeah.
pretty tough.
But they're competitive, okay. Any other questions?
I just had a comment regarding reserves. Surplus in reserves is a very, very good thing.
Yep.
I've been on the council before when we've had no reserves and we were running negative, and it can happen fast.
Yep.
You know, the economy drops a few percent and it hits us hard. So we definitely want to be where I'll be the grandpa from the Depression, and just be mindful of you know, what we're spending and make sure we don't get away with ourselves.
Definitely.
All right, sound good then. I'll piggyback off of what Caroline said. I think it's 100% true, and what Scott said too, and that's where I'm going to hit on at the moment. Measure A is brand new. I would really love to keep that 10% in the piggy bank. Or I mean, we can talk about it for sure, but I think having a reserve is a great thing. In the past few years, we have spent a lot of money, or we have spent money on things that were needed. I feel it was needed, but I just want to be very cautious of our spending and funds. There could be some changes coming that we're unforeseen, and I would like to, you know, and we can't predict it, but I really would like the staff to department heads, everybody's pretty frugal, or as tight as they can try and be in years. So, I mean, public works guys, when I first started, didn't even have a battery powered tool set. You know, they didn't have a DeWalt pack, you know what I mean? So I do appreciate that everything that everybody does. I just want to be conscious of it, because I remember 6 years ago, like Scott just said too, he was coming to bed, and Veronica's in the audience, it was pretty rough. And I just don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. So,
Yeah, I just don't want to spend that. Like, just because we have it doesn't mean we need to spend it. I just don't.
Yeah. And I don't, so the amount that we had put in for the vehicle, it was like 90-some thousand, and that was just because that was sort of what we had. It may not cost that. I don't think Chief's even gone out to look at what that would replace. I doubt it's gonna be that much, and we could easily find something within the budget and still keep it so we could roll over the.
And I'm all for having the discussions, that's not what I'm saying either, but
I just
don't,
think
when we
next
see the trend
Yeah.
starting to shake a little bit and move down, I just want to kind of hold on to what I got to.
Right.
If that makes sense. So that's all I'm saying. I just want to be very cautious moving forward. I appreciate you guys do, you know, off of everything you guys do, but I just wanted to air that out there, so.
Okay, I appreciate it.
This array allows us an admin cost too, don't we, besides
We
carryover?
do get a 5% admin fee on that, but that's already factored in.
That's already factored in.
Thank you so much for all the work that you put in on this. You do an excellent job, and I appreciate the thoroughness and sitting down with all of us and explaining all this to the general public. And thank you, Michelle. You do a great job.
I appreciate it.
Any questions from the public? No. Anyone online? Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve? Mid-year?
I don't think
Do we need to?
Oh, yeah.
Do we need a motion?
I will make a motion to approve resolution 2516 for the mid-year budget.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Rose?
Beha.
Aye.
Sharado.
Aye.
Shemente.
Aye.
Moncada.
Aye.
Brolio.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Michelle, for all that you do, and the staff for your hard work in helping maintain our budgets. 11A was tabled. We'll go on to council report. We'll start with Mr. Vigil.
Okay, since our last meeting, we attended a very light agenda COG meeting. Caroline might have some better notes than I, but I don't remember anything that was really that significant. We can reiterate though that from the prior that we do have a large project starting on downtown streets in April. So that we'll look forward to some nice construction, nice landscaping, new sidewalks and bump outs and traffic control stuff. So about $12 million project, so it's kind of exciting. I also attended the LLD meeting, and our biggest issue there, everything's looking really good, except we're still trying to deal with water in the big pond. And I guess we gotta get everybody in the same room, because people are all pointing fingers and saying, well, it's not us. And you know, we need to get that resolved. I met with a representative from PG&E and talked about what PG&E is doing, and they've got some interesting stuff. They were able to underground about 7 miles of power lines last year, and this year they're looking to do more than 20 in 25 and 26. So they're on that. They're spending about 31 cents of every dollar on fire prevention. And so until they can get all that wrapped up, that's a big part of their costs and why costs are going up to us. And they have a program for low-income people to save 35% on their power bills, and there are about 33% of the people in the county that can qualify for that are not taking advantage of it. So there's and they want to get a little bit more information out there regarding that. And then finally, last night I attended the LAFCO meeting. And basically there's a lot of training, a lot of information, talk a little bit about what LAFCO is and isn't. And so I found that very helpful. And I think that's it for me.
So Scott, is Caltrans with their project downtown gonna upgrade our crosswalks? And do something with
so
those?
that's a separate project.
Okay, but that's something that will happen?
Yeah, so that was one of the things that was brought up as an up-and-coming project, is that they did come downtown Angels Camp. They reviewed the crosswalks. They did find them to have a lot of issues with safety, and so that's gonna be a project that they're going to be rolling out and we'll be hearing more about.
Thank you.
That's why I would like an update from Caltrans. Yeah, for just anything.
Good, thank you.
Veronica's going on speed table before we get done.
I'm just happy. The only other thing on Caltrans, or no, on the COG, was that the wagon trail came out of winter suspension, and so that project's back to work from COG.
Have you heard from COG how they're going to realign those two roads and what they're gonna do?
They're gonna have to do a hard closure on that.
That's what we talked about.
Yeah, that's what we talked
They're gonna
about.
have to do a hard closure. They've been talking about that. I don't know the details of it, but that's what they.
So they're gonna route down Full Station and to San Andreas and back?
Yep. And hopefully it's only like a day or two, but it's gonna be a hard
Yeah,
closure.
it's gonna be a hard closure.
Let's hope they get it all ready to go. And then
Yeah.
they close it like overnight
Yeah,
or something. You know what I mean? They close it from
You
6
guys
a.m.
can
to
ask
6
more
p.m.
about that at the next meeting.
I will, but I will be
won't
attending for
there.
you because you
You'll
won't be there.
there.
Actually, while you're
So,
talking about.
the only other thing I wanted to piggyback on, I met with the PG&E guy as well, and he did bring up that, so that the PG&E rates have been astronomical this last year. I think it was like 5 or 6 rate hikes, and so I told him how displeased and upset everybody is over that, and he said that they were we just had a little rate hike in March, but then that would be it for this year, and next year would be a very nominal rate hike. But he said something that was very interesting about how they fund the folks that are low income and need assistance. And normally it's all the ratepayers that pay extra to go into that. So he said they were gonna go to the state of California and get a grant. And I said, so that's taxpayers' dollars. That's still me paying for that. So that means the people in San Diego who aren't on PG&E are paying for people on PG&E to have a discount. So, and I appreciate that program, but I recommended maybe they look at late fees like we do, or have some other way of source that they bring in that funding to help offset the low income, because otherwise, either way you're getting it through taxes or you're getting it from me somehow. So maybe you can find a way to not get it from me unless I'm delinquent or something like that. So that was the only other thing I had on PG&E. Otherwise it was good. I also just mentioned we need more nuclear power, but that's a bigger conversation.
And EV cars,
Yeah.
power station.
So, guess who I also met with? So I won't go into more detail on that. I did go to LAFCO last night. We had LAFCO one-on-one, and Rose, I'll send you the link to that PowerPoint. That way she can send it to everyone, and then if you want more information, basically, how they came to be, what they do, etc. So Rose, I'll send you that. Okay. We also had our cemetery district municipal service review and sphere of influence. So that's for all the cemeteries in the county, and we'll have the public hearing for that at our next meeting, which is May 19th. Let's see, we had our hearing regarding our LAFCO budget for 2025-2026. We appointed Scott to our LAFCO Executive Officer Transition Committee. So as we all know, for the past year, John has been trying to transition away from us. So that's what that committee is going to get together to discuss, how we're going to transition to another executive director. upcoming municipal service reviews include that of the Veterans Districts and the City of Angels Camp, which Pam, it's my understanding that you and John are in touch about that. And
And I guess John's gonna contact me about Angels Veterans.
Okay.
Yay.
And then just a reminder, April 1st, 700 forms are due. So that was a reminder from there, and I'm just reminding everyone here. And that is my report.
Thank you. Alvin?
I did my 700 form and done. And I have nothing to report. Utica was skipped last month because Caroline and Joel were back in Washington, D.C., and we have one upcoming next week, I believe. That's all I have at the moment.
And the only thing I would like to report, I appreciated Pam and Joel this weekend when someone dumped some green food dye into the, they were, you guys.
We assume it's
And
green
Chris,
food
you
dye.
guys were very, yeah, we're assuming it is. But I thought the plan was very proactive and I appreciate it. They diverted water and then after a reasonable amount of time, they reopened and flowed water to us. And I thought that was, talking with both of them, I appreciated the time that they spent and being proactive. Whether or not it would have been an issue, whether or not when it hit the filters, it would have cleaned up, doesn't make a difference. I mean, it's just doing the right thing for all the right reasons. So I appreciate that. So thank you. And that's all I have. So we'll move on to the calendar.
Correspondence.
Oh, I'm sorry, correspondence. Didn't put my glasses on. We have 2, A and B, and again, these were based on our recent handbook adjustment, allowed the mayor to write these letters on behalf of Habitat. And there was that whole time frame crunch that we found the last time. It doesn't obligate the city to anything. All it does is support what they're trying to do. So those were those 2 correspondents. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move on to calendar.
So we are looking at UWPA on the 25th. Potential AVA. I need to find out if you need to attend the AVA meeting on the 26th. Are you, is it for sure on the 26th? Okay.
What's the AVA?
Abandoned vehicle abatement. They've been waiting for us to fill the position before they can set up meetings, so.
It passed, didn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, it did pass.
It did pass, yeah, okay.
Yep. Yep. Now we're looking at April, so I have Caroline will be out. Caroline's not available for COG.
I just put COG in my calendar as we were all talking. For May also.
Okay. And same, yeah, I think I listed it for May as well.
Yep.
So anything that you have that I can add to the calendar, please share.
Did John stay in the city?
I think so. Maybe. No. No, but we are doing the State of the City on the 20th. Staff will be there as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is very helpful, having all of those. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on for just 1 minute.
Go ahead, Pam.
Rose, can you add for calendar of events for the 2025 annual conference and expo? So that's for the League of California Cities.
Yeah, it's right down here is where I've been, right here. See, leadership? This is when it is. I just don't know who wants to attend.
There's one more. It's on October? Wednesday, October 8th to Friday, October 10th. That's the annual conference. And what happens is sometime around August,
Right here?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then sometime around August, we are supposed to get a yearly notice of who's going to be the voting delegate for the city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, I was just looking at my calendar. It looks like I am going to be here for May 6th and May 7th.
Yeah?
Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The event I'm at is the week
Great, now I
before.
gotta go to my Google and.
Thanks. Just checked.
So that's October 8th to the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that League of
That's for
Cities?
League of
That's
Cities.
League of Cities. What was the one you had prior up there?
The annual, what was that?
What was the other one you had? Just. Oh, that was for leadership. Okay, never mind. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so.
It was the spring one.
Anything that's available through League of Cities, I've made sure to put it in the month that it pertains to. So in case any of you want to attend, that we can schedule and get you all set up, so.
Any other calendar questions?
How's solid waste task force going? Do you have an update on that?
It's been about a year and a half since we had any meeting on that.
Okay, is Jen coming back on?
Don't know.
Okay.
I can find out before the next meeting. I will find something out.
Future agenda items. Start with Scott. Do you have any future agenda items?
I'm happy to see some movement on the roads, but I understand we have a report will be coming around pretty soon that kind of shows the details of all our roads in town and the condition they're in, and when we're expected to have some issues there. So now I want to focus a little bit on water, on the redundant water supply. And I don't know how to go about, a deep investigation into the whole water system. Is our 100-year-old flume and ditch the right way to go, or is there a better way to go? Either way, we need a redundant supply, and I'd like to really do a deep dive into that. So whether it's on an agenda or, it might take some planning to figure out how to do that. But I really don't want to kick that can down the road any further. And that's it for me.
That's something that we're going to talk about on Thursday. And there's been recent legislation, so, my suggestion is have Pam start working with our partners, our water partners, to develop. I know that UPUD is looking for grants to do that 2-mile extension from Forest Meadows. That's something that we can tie into. So, but I appreciate you bringing it back to the forefront because it is an issue of redundant water source for us.
And the tunnel tap
And
option,
it's- yeah.
maybe.
So it is something that we need to be looking at with our partners. And I know that Chris, when we get there was an exploratory well drilled at one time and things. So we have some options that we need to look at and explore. I agree.
I'd like to see if we can get an update from our museum director and the CBB.
I still think at some point I'd like to do a study session with Rose, with you, Pam, to look at strategic plans and goals. And so that we all can be on the same page as a council, direction we're moving for this year.
We have that definitely on the list.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
Good, thank you.
I'm gonna hold off for a little bit, and Pam is still drinking from the fire hose, I assume. So I'm gonna hold off for just
thing.
I'm gonna hold off for a couple more weeks, maybe a month, and kind of let you get your feet underneath you. With Scott's thing on the roads, we did have a report 5 years ago, 4 years ago, somewhere in there that was kicked out. That it was a nice report. I don't know if we can use part of that. And then also on the redundant water source thing, there was at Utica when I was there a couple of years ago, before we started going for FERC, the exemption, we took a pretty deep dive into looking at different options of what to do. So you may be able to pull some of that information from Joel or that type of thing too, to help tie onto that too. So that's all I got at the moment.
There's one other thing. What was it that we were looking at with the fees, like building fees, and we were gonna
That
do a
was the-
study?
We're doing the
Traffic mitigation.
Traffic mitigation, okay, is that
I
in?
believe that's on the list as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great.
Anything else? Pam, you've hit the ground running. I can speak personally with my interactions. I appreciate your work ethic and your ability to analyze and dive deep into problems and find solutions. And I just appreciate what you're doing, and I know that it's going to continue. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, folks. Thank you.
Beatle, Sharada, Shemente,
Oh, aye.
Moncada,
We're-
Braulio.
No.
Why can't we do the all in favor, say aye?
Shake.